Hi, Tim with Redoubt News, and we are in the process of doing a story on Child Protective Services, and I'm here with Tom Frederick here in Helena. Tom?
Hi, my name is Tom. I do have a story to tell of my experience with Child Protective Services, and this began in, I'd say, spring of 2012. Children at that time, they were 8, 10, and 12 years old, and so at that time, to continue with that story, I left the home and moved into an apartment in early June of 2012, and moved out, and having my ex-wife and 3 children in the house that we owned out in the valley here in Helena. So I saw the kids several times throughout June, and maybe halfway through July I had contact with them on the phone, and saw them in the grocery store or wherever my ex was mailed, that she wanted to talk to me. So I think I was downtown walking and played this voicemail, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And I was just totally blown away, just totally caught off guard. So I called the number back, and she answered and said that I was being charged with sexual abuse of the 3 children, and that she needed to see me right away. She might not have even said that. I know for sure she said she wanted to see me. I can't remember if she said what the charges were. I think she told me what the charges were after I arrived one-to-one with her in her office here in Helena. So anyway, she wanted to straighten that out. So at that point, I made arrangements to meet her, and I met her at her office here in Helena. And that's when she told me in detail what had happened. But evidently my ex-wife, who was upset about the situation with our separation, had brought the kids in and made these charges. So I was upset. I was being charged with something that I didn't do. I knew clearly what was going on. And I don't know if it was that visit or another visit that I had with Brittany Devine with CPS. Really couldn't do that, but that's what she was doing, and I really didn't know any better to challenge it, so I complied with it. So there were a few other visits. My attorney, who was representing me in the divorce, as I mentioned earlier, I separated, so now the divorce was going on. She was representing me in that divorce. Her name was Sarah LaRue. She's a family law lawyer here in Helena. So she wanted to accompany me to the CPS thing, even though she wasn't really involved. I suppose she was involved, and she was representing me in the divorce, so her presence was relevant. So she came with me to the office, and again we talked, and again it was spelled out that I wasn't supposed to have any interaction with the kids. I guess the policy at that point was just to comply with that order. We didn't know how long that was going to go on. It ended up going on for I think it was close to a year that was in place, where I couldn't have anything to do with my children. I did deliver some Christmas presents to the kids at the house that December, and that was really the only serious interaction I had with them. And even that was kind of violated. I guess let's throw a question out there. What if my ex-wife and I decided to reconcile? What would have happened then? So anyway, the whole thing was just crazy.
Good question.
It was nonsense. So I gave them their Christmas presents at Christmas, and then I didn't see them again for quite a long time, unless I just saw them in public from a distance or something. But there was no hard interaction with them at any point. And you could tell they were very rattled by what was going on. But anyway, so I continued to have frequent interactions with CPS. I was complaining to a guy by the name of Ferreter. His last name was Ferreter. I can't remember his first name. I can't remember what his name was. But I dealt with Corey Costello. I dealt with Mark Larimore. Mark Larimore was kind of assigned to me.
Are these folks that you're mentioning, were they with the...
Over what was going on. because they kept saying we're investigating, but months were going by, months were going by, and I really wasn't being told anything. Phone calls weren't getting returned. It was just really unprofessional, rude. Incompetence is really the word that comes to mind. I'm a registered nurse at the VA hospital. I work in the PTSD unit, so I'm familiar with how people are supposed to work and to behave and to treat people in a professional and competent capacity, and that was not happening at all. It was very, very bad. So anyway, this Mark Larimore, who was the regional Southwest director, I believe, down in the Bozeman-Dillon area, he was kind of assigned to talk to me, and I had met with him several times. I met with him in Fire Tower Coffee Shop here in Helena, and I met with him again at the Hub Coffee Shop. And he just, was kind of like, okay, so what do you want us to do? What are your expectations? And there was a dialogue going with him and I, which I thought always thought was kind of bizarre.
The coffee shop. Did you ever actually have with Child Protective Services an actual full-blown hearing on this order that forced you to be removed from contact with your children?
Well, I'm getting there. They did come to a hearing, and I'm actually getting close to that spot on the timeline.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm trying to make sure that the folks follow us on where your rights are and where the kids' rights are.
Okay, so anyway, so I had these two or three meetings with Mark Larimore, and he said he was trying to help me, and it was just a strange situation. I really have no words for it other than he acted like they were screwing up or they had screwed up, and because it had been many, many months now since that initial notification. So he acted like he was maybe trying to cover something up, or they had made mistakes in how they were doing things, and it just kind of had that tone to it when we met. So anyway, that spring of 2013, which now we're getting close to a year at that point, it was my people, and so it was my first time with Judge Sherlock. So we had this hearing, I believe it was July of 2013. We went to court. My attorney and I, and my ex-wife's custody lawyer, or family law lawyer, Robin Weber. So it was Robin Weber and Sarah were the two attorneys, Sarah LaRue and Robin Weber, and myself going to this hearing to finalize the divorce, and for CPS to come to the hearing and declare that I was free and clear of anything that was part of the presentation by my attorney to Judge Sherlock. Because at that point we were supposed to be talking about custody and that kind of thing. So Brittany Devine showed up. I can't remember who she came with, but she was there to testify, and she did testify. They were done. She said it several times. We are done with this guy. It's unsubstantiated. There's no safety concerns. She repeated that several times to Judge Sherlock and to my ex-wife's attorney. And then they were done. They got the hell out of there. But my ex-wife's attorney was saying, okay, now a year has gone by since Mr. Frederick's been with his kids, and and there's some awkwardness, and that kind of thing was presented. So now I just lost a year with my kids, which I feel like was a total violation of my rights. And now Judge Sherlock ordered a reunification process to take place with Terry Tillotson, who was a licensed clinical professional counselor at Cornerstone here in Helena, and that was supposed to start immediately. So now Terry Tillotson was involved in it to do the reunification. So that's another thing that I didn't really understand. Why do I got to do reunification when I haven't done anything wrong? So to make a long story short, Terry Tillotson had over 72 visits with my kids and I in her office, which there was a lot of interference. These things, and she even threatened me in Terry Tillotson's office in front of took me through, and then everything that my lawyer had to do to represent me in talking to CPS had racked up a bill. So I said, I want reimbursement. So who was it? I don't know if Corey was involved in this one, but Mark certainly was. Mark Larimore was, who I said before was the regional Southwest director. He said that there was going to be a form of reimbursement. He didn't say how much. And I said, Terry Tillotson's had over 70 visits, and I have racked up some charges with a lawyer. and I need to get some money because I got to keep paying these people. So I went to my mailbox one day in my apartment building that I lived in, and there was a check from Department of Health and Human Services for, I believe, $1,777. And Terry Tolleson said she also received 2 checks from some CPS, 2 separate checks, payments. She was a reunification therapist, as I mentioned. So this was kind of strange stuff.
Wow, almost sounds like they're buying you off.
To engage in reunification therapy with Tom Frederick and his 3 children, create a parenting plan, and submit that to him, and he will make it so. He will follow the advice or the plan of Terry Tolleson. So Terry Tolleson said she recommended overnights and to move forward with a parenting plan. And my ex-wife said, absolutely not, I will not even entertain doing that. So Terry Tolleson reported this to Sherlock, and Sherlock wasn't doing anything about it. She wasn't responding to it. So my attorney and Terry Tolleson were getting frustrated with the interference and the lack of compliance by my ex-wife. And they were talking about getting a guardian ad litem involved for quite a while. He's also a case manager for Health and Human or for Family and Child Health at Lewis and Clark County, just so that you can look him up and see what he does.
Another player of the system.
Definitely. So at that point, we had a 2-day trial, which we had waited a year for, that was in June of 2016. And now we have waited, or no, that was 2015, excuse me. It had been 3 years since I had spent the night with my children, since I had lived with my children, since I had any parenting capacity with my kids. We were now well over 3 years. 1 year that this attracted for their stupid investigation. And then over a year for Terry Tolleson, who had over 70 visits with the kids in it. So Greg Daly got involved in it, and my attorney advised me to cancel the 2-day hearing that we had waited for, so that Terry Tolleson could go in and tell Judge Sherlock, that there was interference, this is a parental alienation situation, and to make the case to Judge Sherlock. Well, my attorney made a tactical error, and she insisted that we cancel the 2-day hearing. We put Greg Daly in charge of everything, and Terry Tolleson will become my therapist, and then Greg Daly will start the case immediately. And Judge Sherlock was also retiring in 5 months. This is all brewing up to a very big mistake. So I agreed to do it very begrudgingly, and it took about a week to realize that I made a catastrophic mistake. So anyway, I sit here today still with Greg Daly as the guardian ad litem, who does not advocate any overnights or anything in my case. I have not had an overnight with my children since May or June, I think June of 2012, which is over 6 years now. I have pretty much lost my children. My oldest kid is now 18, and she's out of the house and going to school. My other kid is 16, and my son is 14. So I have 2 daughters and a son. So I have pretty much lost my kids. The beginning of this occurred with CPS. That's how my ex-wife made the way. She had 1 year to indoctrinate the kids, to hate their father, to hate everybody in my family. And she succeeded with the help of CPS and later Greg Daly. So I sit here today with Tim, who was gracious enough to videotape this. And essentially I have 2 different problems with the system. One is the family court just doesn't work. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know who they're appointing. These people are not accountable to anybody. And of course CPS, who did a horrible job in this case. The whole thing's been mismanaged from beginning to end. The CPS definitely played a hand in the beginning of this case in making the way for everything else that occurred, and even paying me a little bit along the way. They certainly owe me more than that. That would just be a good start.
Let me ask this question on behalf of the viewers, and because this is one of the things that we continually hear about is the need for the Department of Health and Human Services to be in a position. Never been a formal, other than a complaint, where then the departments that do have that authority to bring that to the judicial branch never did have enough information to bring forward to bring a charge. Telling further that you were basically, in layman's terms, railroaded in a process of the divorce to alienate you from your kids. And I guess what I'm looking at, Tom, because you were never charged, this is one of the problems that we're having with DPHS and Child Protective Services. It only takes someone to bring a false claim against a parent, and that brings down the house of cards of family. And this government intervention based on a financial sweetheart deal, if you will, within government is tearing families apart like Tom. And that's the story that we're trying to get out here. We are all for protecting children. Tom would never stand by and allow his children or anyone's children to be abused in any form of way. What happens when the system gets in there, they abuse that process that we talked about earlier of due process. But this is something that the people need to get more wrapped around to say, what are we going to do with the Department of Health and Human Services and Child Protective Services and all of these Adeline individuals that are part of that system. And then we got other layers of government and non-government organizations that are bellied up to this system, making a huge, I'll almost say corporate business out of it. We're looking for accountability, and Tom's story, along with others, that's our goal, is to be able to put that accountability and transparency on this tragedy so that we can make a change so it doesn't happen to future families. Get that accountability where it belongs, and that's back with the people. A government of the people, by the people, requires all of us to get engaged here. Tom's story is only one of many here in Montana, and it's only one of thousands and thousands across this country. So we need to be very vigilant in making sure that we help each other get the truth out on this story.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for your time, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.